What's happening with Singapore? What's the a short-term trend, like next 2-3 years?
Coming from Hong Kong, I experienced the full force of when China money wants to come in. It comes in big, strong, and everything gets expensive. I think we saw that in Singapore during COVID, but in a really short span. And that already kind of disrupted a few things, right?
Yeah, like
obviously,
real estate market.
The real estate market went up. Obviously, a lot of some bad money came into the system.
I always was questioning if some bad money, how you call it, come from different countries to Singapore. Is it a good thing for economy or bad thing for economy?
It depends on your definition of good. Do the economic numbers improve? Of course, more money coming into the system.
Yeah.
But bad money is not good, right? I mean, I'm not trying to justify this, but everybody goes through their own process of, how do I report less? Maybe I report less, this, and I can pay less. But the property market went up really fast, especially for the private condos, private properties. I think a lot of wealthy Chinese became, got citizenships here because they can bring value to the economy by either hiring people or bringing, making their company based here that brings value added to the country, and also some information they can bring to the country. I met, my kids go to school at one of the international schools here, and I always joke, I'm from Hong Kong, and I can tell you when the Chinese come is because you'll wake up one day and there'll be 10 Alphards, the 7-seaters, and he goes, you come on. And now every day to school, there's 10 to 20 Alphards trying to come in. But I actually think it's good, right? I think, I think on the last interview, I said that Singapore really selects in its own way using game theory to select the kind of expat it wants here. It makes it really expensive to live here, so you don't get, if you're middle income, it's not cheap to live here. So it's sort of more senior expats, people that can really add to the economy. However, Singapore manages this really well because they can put expensive taxes on properties and people will still pay. So I think Singapore is a little soft right now just because things went up so much, probably unrealistic, and now it's coming back, and I think it's good. I think the world is a little weak right now, and I think Singapore's, it's not a bad thing. You can tell that in Singapore, these type of cycles, these downturns are very short, because at the end of the day, Singapore is a place where people want to come, and it's a place that's growing.
I think the challenge might be is Singapore now is the place for very wealthy people, and I think, I'm not 100% sure, but they try to keep the life of lower class also okay, to control the prices, to control the food prices and stuff. But I see here and there that the middle class, expats, typical expats, some of them are suffering, some of them decide to leave actually. Either to home country, or many of them actually to just neighbor countries, like Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia. I
have friends that have moved. It's because also you come here, if you're an expat, you're here because of a few reasons. One, you want to see the world. You want to live here, you want your kids to be around multicultural environment. You want to go travel to Bali and Thailand and Nepal and get all those things done. And you want to save money, right? Those three things. And if you can't save money, then the reason to be here is not, okay, you can still meet interesting people and stuff. But if you can't pay to live here, you can't afford to live here, then, it's tough. So I think that middle VP level person in an international company, once you have a kid, it becomes really expensive. I actually think it may be a problem down the road because a lot of these things you can't suppress for too long. It's like the Hunger Games. You can't really suppress for so long.
Yeah.
I just had to fix my car. I have a Tesla. I had to go pick it up at the repair center, and it took 2 hours, and they said, why don't you go downstairs and go to the hawker center? I'm like, okay, right. So I go down. One of the rare times I'll eat really, the greasy noodles and char kway teow. Yeah. And it was $6. And we were super far away. I don't know what area, but I can't remember. And I thought to myself, how can people afford this? Like you say, the average person, if I'm paying $1.50 for kopi O, and I have to now pay $1.75.
Yeah, it's a big increase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there'll be some noise, but not anytime soon. I think when people make money, but once people start to not make money and can't afford to live here, the local community, then it becomes, there'll be angst and there'll be more people complaining and stuff. But so far, it hasn't, not an issue yet.
Yeah.
The expats for sure.
I don't think it's a purely problem of Singapore. It's a problem of the current world right now in the big cities. We just talked to our relatives living in London, and it's not even London, it's like 20 or 30 kilometers from London away to the west. And they actually spend more, their monthly, they also have 2 kids like us, the monthly budgets is actually larger than ours. And we thought the opposite. We thought we probably spend in Singapore more, but they actually spend more living there.
Before, you've got input of money and you've got output. Input before people just worked one job. Like in the 80s, this is not a comment about man or woman, but really in the 70s or 80s, the structure was the husband worked, the mother stayed at home, took care of the kids, but cost of living slowly went up, wages didn't go up. The mother went into the workforce, and you can kind of see that happening. And now the trend is, it's not just one income. Now the world has different avenues to earn income. You can do YouTubes, you can do drop shipping on Amazon, you can trade crypto. So that's really cool, right?
Yeah.
But not everybody is like that, right? Not everybody is as mentally flexible as you are, but you can explore different things. I think, it's getting really expensive, and I don't see any quick remedy. Not every place is like Singapore. Singapore is just so well thought out. Basically, Singapore right from the beginning said, basic human necessities, housing and food, I got your back, right? You want to work harder and hustle, you're gonna get the other stuff, the juice, the gravy on top. You're gonna get the private housing, you can buy a car. But housing and food, we're gonna keep it low for you, and we're gonna provide that for you. If you look at London, Australia, the US that we're really intimate with, housing is, except for council housing in the UK when Thatcher was there, these big countries, housing is through private developers. And so if you think about it, these are all listed companies. Why would I wanna go out and, why do I need to do your job? Like, why do I need to go build 1 million homes? Nobody can afford it anyway, and then my share price will drop. Who's going to end up buying it? The big institutions are going to end up buying it anyway, right? That's also not good for the economy. So it's tricky at the moment. I find it fascinating, but it's also, unfortunately, we tell part of our sales pitch is that in the US, and I think in other countries, the US I feel has no choice to be moved towards something like Europe where you're just renting. It's not a bad thing. Part of owning a home is this PR effort of the American dream.
Yeah.
But it's not necessary, right?
Yeah.
You can feel good about yourself for renting. In fact, a lot of billionaires now prefer to be asset light and not own. But I think that's the trend. The good thing is, if you can afford to be a landlord, because of lack of supply around the world, you just end up making more money because the rental yield will slowly go up because people have to rent.